how many successful prosecutions we achieved and the assets frozen and recovered. No other measure will do. No other measure will satisfy Kenyans' hunger for justice. Honorable Chief Justice, I'm pleased that you have committed yourself to work with all relevant actors to hasten the prosecution, turning back to still that subject of corruption and economic crimes as envisaged under our Constitution and the laws of this land. We will support you completely in this endeavor. As I earlier said, this is a cancer we have to conquer. There should be no debate about this commitment. We all, I presume, know the damage corruption causes to the socio-economic and political landscape of any society. We have our own experiences that inform why the war against corruption has to be won. But ladies and gentlemen, to win this war, we must all be convinced it is a cancer, and we have to stop this practice of worshipping money. We must commit ourselves to work together, the three arms of government, the investigative institutions, and more importantly, the wananchi themselves. I will conclude by once again congratulating you, Honorable Chief Justice, for this launch. I also urge all present here, and indeed all Kenyans, to do something quite simple. Let justice be our shield and defender. This country will not be great. Indeed, it will not be a country at all for long unless we dedicate ourselves to doing justice and right by each other. I repeat, let justice be our shield and defender, and let the judiciary see to it that Kenya is firmly established on the path of justice. I thank you for listening to me. God bless you, and God bless our judiciary to continue performing the quality job they are doing at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kinyua. It's my pleasure to invite the Vice Chair of the JSC and Chair of the Public Service Commission, Professor Margaret Kobia. The country will remember you for the calm and even-handed manner in which you carried the recruitment of the current Chief Justice. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Duncan. Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Ekweduro, the Head of Public Service, and the Head of Public Service, Mr. Joseph Kenyua, JSC Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, judges, and all of us. Thank you very much for inviting me and to give me this opportunity to say a few words during this occasion of the launch of the new strategic blueprint by the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga. First, and on behalf of Judicial Service Commission, I wish to congratulate the Chief Justice for sharing his vision with us and the nation. Chief Justice, we now know the power of the vision, and we are very happy that you decided to be here so that you can articulate it to Kenyans. With a new head of judiciary, there are always new expectations, and articulating where you want to take judiciary and how you are going to do it, and probably with the why, is a good point to start. Sharing your vision with us will keep us focused and accountable on the noble mandate of delivering justice. Your vision, CJ, builds on the judiciary transformation framework of the former Chief Justice Dr. Wiri Mutunga that sought to change the way judiciary had conducted business over the years. The JTF, as it has come to be called, is now credited with a great achievement in the judiciary, and some of the examples are we have enhanced access to justice, improved organizational culture towards service delivery, infrastructure development programs which are still ongoing, and a significant adoption in technology in delivery of justice. As JSC, we do realize that you have taken these challenges hands-on, and you are on the right path of strengthening judiciary as an institution as you launch and implement the strategic blueprint. What we'd like to add, CJ, as you bring this vision to us as Kenyans to judiciary, we would also want to say that the strategy remains simple, so that even the court clerk, wherever they are, they will be able to understand it and support the implementation of it. As I conclude, CJ, developing and empowering all the staff to buy into this vision is key to the success of this blueprint. I emphasize the need to strengthen performance management system in the judiciary right now to support this your vision. In this regard, I wish to assure you, Judicial Service Commission will support you, and we are fully committed to taking with you this new journey. Chief Justice, let me also appreciate that today most members of JSC are here because they do believe truly this is important. I may not have had an opportunity to share with the people how we were given this task of recruiting the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and a judge of the Supreme Court. In my view and that of JSC, this is one of the biggest challenges that we got. But what we learned at the end of it, as long as you remain professional, you also remain focused on doing the right thing, you remain following the criteria, and you remain wanting to do that which is the truth. We ended up, of course, with quite a number of diverse views. We consulted among ourselves, but at the end of it, we said as professionals, we have to make our decision. And when we made it, we made the right decision. Can you clap for JSC? We believe we made the right decision because once we put the names there, I think they were well received. And I think it is our interest today, as JSC, as we sit here, to see Chief Justice succeed. And that's why we are here to see the launch, to follow through, and want to tell you we will support you. Therefore, this exercise was not only challenging as we recruited the head of judiciary, the president of the Supreme Court, but we also are recruiting our chair. So have you ever seen somebody who is recruiting their boss? Therefore, that complicated and made it complex. But we thank God because of the kind ones of Kenyans, their prayers. When the exercise is finally was done, we are happy even to witness today, and we will be with you as even you continue to implement the strategy so that you will make a difference and we will be held accountable for Kenyans. Because there is one voice which kept being in our mind, back of our mind, understanding the context as Kenyans and knowing the year we are in. We kept telling ourselves, even when we struggled with the matter, that if we don't do the right thing, we are sending confusion in the country. And that held us together. If we do not strengthen the Supreme Court by the time we come to this year, we will be held accountable, and us who have been given this space in the public service to make that contribution, then we will have failed Kenyans. I'm proud to say we have not failed Kenyans, and we see a bright future for Kenya. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
All right, we are coming to the end of our session. Thank you, Prof. If I was a journalist, I think the headline for your submission would be, "We acquitted ourselves well," JSC Chair says. Now, let me invite the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Lady Justice Philomena Mbetemilu, to come and give her remarks, and then invite the Chief Justice to make his speech.
My Lord, the Honorable, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. David Maraga, the Honorable Speakers of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Head of the Public Service and Secretary to the Cabinet, the Honorable, the Attorney General who has since left, the Honorable Commissioners of the Judicial Service Commission, our Chief Registrar, my colleague judges and magistrates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this most auspicious occasion of the launch of the Honorable the Chief Justice's blueprint towards entrenching and reinvigorating reform in the judiciary. The development of this strategic blueprint represents an important milestone for the leadership and management of the judiciary. It provides the foundation upon which we shall endeavor to fulfill our constitutional responsibility and the covenant we have with the people of Kenya for an independent institution of excellence in the delivery of justice for all. Under the Judiciary Transformation Framework 2012 to 2016, the judiciary realized significant gains in what is widely recognized as a positively transformed and transforming judiciary. To name a few of those, there are now 34 High Court stations in 34 of our 47 counties. The Court of Appeal has been decentralized. New strategic magistrates courts have been established. Numerous policy documents and manuals have been developed to improve registry operations, court management and case management. Performance evaluation and measurement standards have been introduced. The use of alternative dispute resolution and alternative justice systems have been piloted, and the number and terms of judges, judicial officers and judiciary staff have increased and improved respectively. These gains are the product of an ambitious and successful transformation agenda implemented by the immediate former Chief Justice, the Honorable Dr. William Mutunga, and we remain thankful for his laying the foundation for transformation and for his direction and leadership. Nevertheless, we remain acutely cognizant of the expectations of Kenyans for a modern, efficient, effective, transparent, impartial, and accessible judiciary. A judiciary that facilitates and supports the aspirations of all Kenyans for an equitable, peaceful, and prosperous constitutional democracy based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, social justice, and the rule of law. This blueprint represents the judiciary's strategy towards attaining this vision over the next 6 years. The strategic blueprint is the product of a highly collaborative and consultative process in regard to which I was closely involved. I had the honor and privilege to serve under appointment by the Honorable the Chief Justice as the chairperson of the Review and Validation Committee on the Chief Justice's vision, and therefore I appreciate the valuable effort and input into this blueprint from the various subcommittees on the Chief Justice's vision and through consultations with judges, judicial officers, and judiciary staff. As a result of these processes, the strategic blueprint enjoys institutional-wide backing and support. As part of the leadership and management of the judiciary, I pledge my personal support towards the realization of the objectives contained within the strategic blueprint that is just about to be launched. I fully ascribe to the strategy, objectives, and methods contained in the blueprint, and I should hope that all judges, judicial officers, and the judiciary staff share my commitment to supporting the Honorable the Chief Justice in the implementation of its agenda. It is now my pleasure, my duty, and the singular honor to welcome the Honorable the Chief Justice to formally launch the strategic blueprint, is transformative agenda and vision for a judiciary that provides expeditious and tangible justice for all Kenyans. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable the Chief Justice to unveil his agenda for the judiciary.
Let me start by making one simple disclaimer. I come from a community whose mother tongue doesn't have some letters of the alphabet. So if you hear me saying it is now my pleasure, I actually mean it is my pleasure. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Muturi, the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Ethuro, the Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Muiro, the judges of the Superior Courts present, the retired DCJ, Ms. Rawal, the Vice Chair and the members of the Judicial Service Commission, the Chairman of the Cohesion and Integration Commission, Mr. Kaparo, ambassadors and high commissioners present here, the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, and your members, including Senior Counsel, who I have seen here among us. All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
First and foremost, I wish to thank you all for finding time to join us here this morning as I launch my vision for the judiciary. I don't take this for granted, and I want to thank you most sincerely. It's almost 100 days since I took over as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. I wish to take this opportunity to articulate my mid-term and long-term vision for the judiciary, and to pronounce my aspirations and agenda for the period that I will serve as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. For those gathered here today, and many others watching and listening in various corners of our Republic, your presence and attention is a comforting testimony on your commitment to work with us to revolutionize the judiciary into a modern and transformative institution. As many of us know, judicial authority is derived from the people and vests in and shall be exercised by the courts and the tribunals established by and under the Constitution. The judiciary, therefore, is accountable to the people of Kenya and is obliged to serve them diligently. During my term in office, I shall operate on the basis of these constitutional truths and democratic principles, and even more, that the judiciary is the defender of us all, both the weak and the mighty, the rich and the poor, as well as the ruler and the ruled. The judiciary operates on the principle that all authority is subjected to and constrained by law. It is not the will of an individual or a group that is the governing force in society. It is the rule of law. In the last 5 years, the judiciary has been on an honest transformation path. Significant and unprecedented achievements have been made in laying the foundations for transformation under the Judiciary Transformation Framework. In this regard, the judiciary and the entire country owe a debt of gratitude to my predecessor, the Honorable Dr. Will Mutunga, for his exemplary and bold leadership that put the judiciary on a permanent track of transformation, leaving a rich legacy of change. The transformation initiatives of the last 5 years have created the preconditions for final takeoff in the judiciary transformation. The Almighty God has bestowed upon me the duty and the privilege to pilot and fly this institution into higher and greater heights. This I am happy to do. I seek to preside over a service-oriented judiciary, a judiciary that gleams through its buildings but glitters through its services, a judiciary that is not self-serving in legalese but public serving in litigation, a judiciary that is sensitive to the societal impact of its decisions and not one that is stone deaf to its societal context, a judiciary that enhances shared cohesion and economic development and not one that marginalizes or divides. In short, a judiciary that looks beyond the courtroom and seeks to provide substantive justice to all. This is the reason my vision is titled Sustaining Judiciary Transformation, a Service Delivery Charter. Sustaining judiciary transformation is predicated on the notion of individual accountability. My tenure will be defined by service delivery based on the performance of court stations throughout the country. Each court station shall develop and display prominently in its premises its own service charter aligned to the service delivery objectives elaborated in the Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Agenda. That service delivery charter will contain a comprehensive set of performance indices, including corruption and public complaints reduction strategies, case backlog reduction strategies, duration for concluding civil and criminal matters, range and state of ICT services, timelines in retrieval of files, time frames for writing judgments and ruling in accordance with the civil procedure rules, duration for availing typed proceedings, number and impact of the court users committee meetings, and open day held periodically, among other things. Every year, the Chief Justice will pronounce the best and worst performing court stations based on its service delivery charter commitments. These performances will have a bearing on staff promotions, and a reward and sanction mechanism will be established. The next phase of the judiciary transformation will be driven by technology and guided by the principles and the practices of integrity, individual and institutional accountability, as well as performance. While the first phase of transformation focused on institutional capacity building and enhancement, a focus on the wholesale or strategic side of reforms, this next phase will look at the service delivery, the retail or operational side of business that will be characterized by modern administrative reforms. In other words, we shall in this era focus on business process reengineering in our courts and registries. In this regard, I will espouse the international best practices in the justice sector, particularly in case management and disposal, as well as the use of ICT. I will also apply contemporary methods of measuring our performance, judicial education, and the court administration. We will modernize the courts, registries, and operations, open communication with you, the consumers of our services, and secure the position of our courts as leaders in the region, the continent, and the world at large. I will ensure that the judiciary stands as a reliable pillar in maintaining a just and fair society, an accountable and a democratic government, and a strong economy. As I was thinking about this day, I spent time with the Deputy Chief Justice and some of my colleagues reminiscing on a purpose-driven leadership. Not surprisingly, I found myself playing back some questions that came through during the HSC interviews. This has helped me to reflect on the expectation of my triple role as the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, as the president of the Supreme Court, and as the head of the judiciary. I also have reflected on the state of our country, the worrying level of ethnic polarization, the upsurge of suspicion among political contestants, the escalation of threats to violence, and the grim poverty of our people. In this mire, I can't help but ask myself, what contribution can the judiciary make in alleviating this regrettable state of things? How can the judiciary come to the positive assistance of the consumers of its services? How may the judiciary assist in increasing the level of citizen trust in state institutions? How can the judiciary assist to foster peace and harmonious coexistence among our communities? This armchair review of our social, political, and economic landscape brings into sharp focus the monumental task ahead of us, not least because the answers to most of these questions are not entirely inspiring. When I reflect on my desire for the judiciary, my goals and targets, and regardless of the strategic big bets, in my vision statement, I see the purpose of my leadership and the vision for the judiciary as encompassing the desire of the Kenyans for continuity, change, and innovation. To attain these objectives, the judiciary must be an institution driven by more friendly attitudes, entrepreneurial, accessible, nimble, and dynamic. To achieve these characteristics, the judiciary has to be an agile institution. So this strategic framework, which we have aptly titled Sustaining Judiciary Transformation, is in fact our manifesto for an agile judiciary. Agile because we want to have the ability to be both stable and dynamic. These twin attributes will be evident in our organizational structure, which defines our governance, how decisions are made, physical discipline, how our resources are distributed, and delivery of services, how things get done, including management of performance. At the judiciary, we believe that our institutional framework should allow us the flexibility to regularly rethink and, if necessary, redesign our structures. We espouse governance mechanisms and processes which permit us to strike a balance between speed and stability. In many respects, the concept of agility is not so much a purpose as it is a means to a bigger vision. In essence, we must adopt an agile spirit because we want to have a bias for action. We want to be agile with success in mind, and the definition of that success is to add value to people's lives. In the institutional framework document, I have outlined 6 strategic big bets which espouse my vision for the judiciary. Please allow me to briefly outline the essence of each of these action points. The first of these big bets is enhancing access to justice. Many ordinary Kenyans hold the view that formal justice system is not for them. Several factors account for this. Either the courts are too far away from where they live, or they do not understand the court processes, or, and unfortunately, and quite often, they cannot afford the fees required to prosecute and defend their cases to conclusion. I recognize that in the last 5 years, the judiciary has invested in more magistrate courts, especially in the sub-counties that did not have them, established more high court stations, decentralized the Court of Appeal, and piloted alternative dispute resolution programs such as arbitration and court-annexed mediation processes. But a lot remains to be done. The court-annexed mediation has proved successful in both the commercial and family divisions of the High Court in Nairobi. we propose to roll these ADR processes to all other courts in the country. Our pilot projects on traditional methods of dispute resolution in several communities such as the Kipsigis, the Kikuyu, the Kamba, the Turkana, the Meru, the Tugen, and the Somali have proved fairly successful. In the next phase of this project, we intend to bring into the fold all the other communities across the country. I am convinced that in collaboration with the judiciary, these communities and many others in the country will settle many disputes and thus obviate the need to file their claims in court. Plans are also underway to operationalize the small claims court and fully institutionalize all statutory tribunals and to assist indigent litigants. We are taking necessary action to operationalize the Legal Aid Act as soon as possible. The second strategic big bet is clearance of case backlogs. Over the years, case backlog has been a stain and negative plot on the judiciary's image. Since I assumed office as Chief Justice, several representatives of professional, business, as well as societal groups have accorded me the favor of courtesy calls. The analogous, unimpeded, and unified complaint of these groups reduces to a common song with similar stanzas. Banks are complaining that court injunctions have hampered their efforts to realize securities in cases of loan default repayments. Borrowers, on the other hand, are complaining that failure to grant them injunctions has led to the illegal disposal of their properties by banks. Employers are complaining that the courts are arbitrary and at will, restraining them from terminating the services of their employees even if they have good cause. Employees themselves are complaining that the courts take forever to grant them their claims such as terminal benefits. On his part, the Honorable the Attorney General is complaining that the court's conservatory orders are causing havoc to the executive executive development agenda. The list is legion, and I could go on with more examples, but you get the picture. The common denominator is not so much the type of remedy issued, but the time it takes to determine a matter on merit. While the data available to us indicates that the case backlog has reduced by over 50% in the past five years, viewed against the human capital available on the bench, the reduction is disproportionate and unencouraging. As at December 2016, there were a total of 315 cases pending in our court system. Of these, 284 cases have been pending for 5 years or longer. I promise to utilize service weeks and the day-to-day hearing arrangements to clear all cases that are more than 5 years old by December 2018. Thereafter, we shall have a sustained onslaught on all cases, and with the cooperation of all parties, and in particular the litigants and the Law Society of Kenya, I'm certain that by the end of my tenure, we shall have no cases in court older than 3 years in accordance with the international best practices. This calls for a concerted effort by all of us, the judiciary staff, the litigants, and the counsel involved. Unless we deal with the issue of backlog and have the cases determined expeditiously, we will be holding investment in quite a number of those cases, and some people will lose their rights in quite a number of aspects. So I call upon all of us to come together and we deal with the case of backlog. The third strategic big bet relates to corruption in the country. Here I want to talk about 2 areas: corruption in the judiciary and corruption in the country as a whole. In the judiciary, it is common knowledge that in the country, it is common knowledge that corruption has reached endemic proportions. Our media are awash with allegations of corruption literally on a daily basis. And whereas the judiciary, more than any other arm of government, has waged gallant wars in fighting this vice, it still remains a challenge. In the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission surveys of 2009, 2011, and 2015, the judiciary was reported to be the 6th, 9th, and the 4th most corrupt institution in that order, signifying progress and regression, but overall, still not eliminating the vice. Corruption and the judiciary must be hostile terms, and any ranking, however high or low, is still a big and unacceptable stain. Even as I think of dealing with allegations of corruption in government and other institutions, I want to first focus on tackling corruption in the judiciary. As an institution and obligation by the Constitution to fight corruption, the judiciary should be in the forefront in fighting that. And to do that, we must first and foremost search ourselves. Under this strategic framework, we have identified several interventions to deal with this evil. These include strengthening the oversight organs of the judiciary, in particular the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsperson and the Directorate of Risk and Audit. In respect of the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsperson, to maintain the security of tenure of judges and the confidence of the magistrates and other judicial officers in the discharge of their duties, we propose to have a system of thorough investigations. In this regard, we propose to restructure the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsperson, firstly, by having the Deputy Chief Justice as its head, and secondly, by establishing a fully fledged secretariat to assist in its operations. The Judicial Service Commission has embarked on this restructuring process, and it is hoped that the exercise shall be completed by the end of March this year. Where we get evidence on any form of corruption after investigations, we shall take prompt and decisive action against the staff involved. The linkage of the judiciary financial operations to the treasury is another aspect of corruption in the judiciary. Besides achieving complete financial autonomy, plans are underway to delink the judiciary's financial accounts from the district treasuries. We have also embarked on fast-tracking the judiciary disciplinary processes and work more closely with the external integrity institutions such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. When we started mainstreaming ICT in our financial processes by introducing the use of M-Pesa services. Revenue collections shot from Kenya shillings 500 million in the year 2011 to 2.1 billion in the 2014-2015 financial year, and the collections have since continued to rise. This is a clear demonstration that harnessing the use of technology in revenue collection will significantly reduce corruption in our financial management. A rise from 500 million shillings to 2.1 billion tells you a lot. Where has the balance been going for those years? In this regard, I propose to fully automate revenue collection and where necessary undertake targeted lifestyle audits on judicial officers. With regard to handling of corruption cases filed in our courts, the talk out there is that corruption cases against the rich and the mighty drag forever in our courts and eventually end up in acquittals. It is common knowledge that a petition has been filed against me challenging the practice directions I recently issued for the speedy disposal of these cases. Another petition has been lodged with the Judicial Service Commission, urging it to petition the President to form a tribunal to investigate and have me removed from office for issuing those directions, terming them a violation of the Constitution and an act of incompetence on my part. I respect the rule of sub judice, and I wish to say nothing about those practice directions. I want to state here also that I will comply with the court order that will be given in that petition. However, I wish to assure Kenyans that the Judiciary is committed to expeditiously hear and determine all cases of corruption. If sufficient evidence is adduced, we shall convict irrespective of the accused's status in society. If no credible evidence is adduced, we shall of course acquit. In either case, we shall henceforth make the grounds of our decisions clear to the public to judge where the blame lies, because the judiciary has been sometimes unfairly blamed for ills of other institutions. The judiciary under my watch is not going to be a doormat for the failures of other players in the justice chain or in the cases designed for failure before they are even brought to court. The fourth strategic big bet is the digitization of court files and proceedings. Harnessing ICT in service delivery is the flagship of my tenure as CJ. I will endeavor to have it succeed. Part of the reason why we must be agile hinges on the fact that we are living in an electronic age. It is undeniable that our slow pace in embracing technology, the low quality of our ICT infrastructure, and minimal innovation are serious drawbacks to our being a world-class judiciary. Admittedly, due to corruption in stealing documents from court files and even accidental loss or mutilation of documents, the integrity of a fair proportion of our court records is wanting. Digitization will guarantee the integrity of our court files and the court records in general. One of the major impediments in harnessing ICT is service delivery is attitude. Many think it is too late for them to learn how to use a computer. we have to change this attitude. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I learned how to use the computer at the age of 50. At the age of 66, I am now still typing my own judgments, and that has helped me not to have backlogs. So if at my age I can use technology, what about those younger than me in the system? Earlier I spoke about the duality of Kenya's desire for continuity and innovation. An agile organization will innovate on the backdrop of a strong core. In this regard, therefore, by March 2017, all court stations in the country will have Wi-Fi connectivity. They will be enabled to receive mobile payments of court fees, deposits, and fines. We are going to start electronic filing of documents. In other words, we want to start electronic files, and we will start the electronic files along with the hard files, with the view, of course, of eventually phasing out the hard files in our system. And rather than traveling long distances to court, we want to ensure that mwananchi, by sending an SMS, shall be advised of the status of his court case. If institutions like Kenya Power are sending bills by SMS, the KRA has digitized its records. I cannot see why a whole arm of government cannot be facilitated to have its records digitized. The fifth strategic big bet is on the rule of law. As you all realize, the rule of law is the safeguard of law and order in society. The law, and especially court orders, must therefore be obeyed by all. And a sensible Kenyan knows that if we maintain the disturbing culture of disobeying court orders with impunity, the rule of the jungle will take over and this country will slide to lawlessness. If the government officers continue to disobey court orders, that invites anarchy. As Chief Justice, I want to say this. If Kenya is to remain in the League of Civilized Nations, then all and soundly, and I repeat, all and soundly, including the government and the senior government officials and the individuals, must obey court orders. If anyone is aggrieved by any court order, he should appeal against it or apply to have it set aside. Under my watch, the judiciary is going to firmly deal with the cases of disobedience of court orders and maintain the rule of law. Besides the enforcement of court orders, I seek to preside over an independent judiciary, which with the support of the bar shall vigorously and at all times defend the Constitution and dispense justice to all irrespective of their status. We shall serve equally the powerless and the powerful, the low and the high in society, as well as the injured and the oppressed. The traffic sector is a major site where the Kenyan public experiences acute injustice in our courts. It is a serious indictment on the judiciary that a driver who pleads guilty to a charge of overspeeding spends a whole day in court waiting to pay the fine imposed on him or her. To address this challenge, We shall henceforth enforce compliance with the traffic guidelines issued by the former Chief Justice Honorable William Mutunga, and have traffic offenders pay fine through mobile payments and go back to their businesses. The sixth and last strategic big bet is on leadership and governance. In this regard, I shall extend the Judiciary Leadership Advisory Council to include all levels of the judiciary hierarchy and strengthen the court users committees. When I looked at the council, I realized that some levels of the judiciary are not included in that leadership council. So we'll expand it so that we have everybody on board. Even though not devolved, the judiciary will continue to strongly support devolution and build partnerships with the Council of Governors in the administration of justice at the county level, at a county government level. High court stations will be established in the remaining 9 counties by the end of next year, and magistrate courts in all the 290 counties will be increased in a phased manner. The Constitution predicated that the independence of the judiciary is sacrosanct, and it is our duty to protect it at all costs. This speaks to the decisional independence of judges and judicial officers. With that said, we have to cultivate a healthy working relationship with the other arms of government. I am pleased, ladies and gentlemen, by the presence of the 2 speakers of parliament here, the Attorney General who has left, and the head of public service being present here with us. I want to assure them that while upholding the doctrine of separation of powers, the judiciary shall cooperate with other arms of government for a more effective and efficient service delivery to Wanjiku. I want to request, and I don't need to make this request because you have heard the assurances that have come from the 2 speakers, and I'm sure we are going to cooperate in quite a number of issues. The honorable speakers, when the budget of the judiciary is reduced, you're not hitting me. You're not hitting any of the judges in the judiciary. You are actually hitting the ordinary mwananchi out there. So we would like to urge you to get the honorable members of parliament to know that when we ask for funds for development, we want to build courts in all parts of the country. We have quite a number of areas which are not having courts. We are trying as much as we can to have mobile courts in those areas, but a lot needs to be done and we require funds. So when we make the appeal, honorable speakers, please understand where we are coming from. We are in an election year. I wish to reiterate what the Honorable Simbogori, the chair of the Judicial Committee on Elections, and I have several times stated in the past, that the judiciary is ready to hear and determine within the timelines stipulated in the Constitution and the Elections Act all election disputes and petitions that will arise before and after the general elections. Reading the political landscape, we are in this country, we know that we are going to have what some people have called an avalanche of petitions. But we are prepared for that, and we want to assure everyone that those cases will be dealt with. In closing, I wish to observe that one critical prerequisite for sustaining our quest to be an agile organization is the need for judicial officers, senior or otherwise, to model behaviors consistent with this rallying call. I therefore want to invite my colleagues to rally together in making this vision a reality, in identifying the critical areas of concern and reflecting on refining my thoughts on action points. I have been greatly assisted by the Honorable the Deputy Chief Justice and the heads of various divisions in the judiciary, as he has already stated. I'm greatly indebted to all of them, and I sincerely thank them. To oversee the implementation of this blueprint, the Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Agenda, I have established a committee known as the Implementation Monitoring Committee, which shall be chaired by the Honorable the Deputy Chief Justice. The other members will be Justice Lenaola, Musinga, Gatembo, the PJ Honorable Muongo, Mr. Madi, the CRJ, Wairimu Ruinchi, Dr. Kimalu, and the joint secretaries shall be Messrs. Duncan Okello and the friend Nyingiro from my office. As I considered my vision, I was reminded of the words of Nelson Mandela, an activist, revolutionary, lawyer, and a president, who said, and I quote, "Vision without action is just a dream. Action without vision just passes time. And a vision with action can change the world." The Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Agenda that I present today is a combination of vision and action, which establishes an agile institution styled for a better, modernized, and responsive judiciary that will deliver quality service to the people of Kenya. Let us all make it happen. Thank you very much. I now would like to call the high table to move on the side here as I launch this strategic plan. Give me your
Yeah, that marks the end of the...
You can see what technology can do.
That marks the end of the merriment session, so you can resume your seats, and then we go into the photo session. I would like to invite Dr. Naim Bilal to take us through this session before we close.
Yes, I will request the Honorable CJ to have a photo session with the entire high table before we call in the other groups. Right. Sorry. Yeah, the same place. There's more space. There's more space. Can you give me the with the book? Yes, it will be nice. You can carry the book. Yeah. Where is the microphone?